Okay, good evening, everyone. Today we have our guest, Nagaraj Sivasubramanian, sir. Sir has completed his PhD from Florida International University and presently serving as an associate professor of leadership in the Paul Umbo Donahue School of Business at Duquesne University, Pittsburgh. His research focuses on defining and measuring sustainability orientation, poverty alleviation, strategy at the base of economic pyramid, modeling climate protection strategies, and organizational impact of individual and team leadership. He served as the lead designer and founding director of the award-winning and globally ranked MBA program in sustainability. His work has been published in the Leadership Quarterly, Journal of Product Innovation Management, Journal of Business Ethics, Group and Organization Management, and other journals. In the classroom, he facilitates student learning in leadership and strategy. It's a pleasure to have you, sir, with us today to share your insight on leadership.
I do not know if I would call it insights. All I'm going to do is sort of share my experiences teaching this field for the last 20 plus years. So this is the first of the three-part series. I'm facilitating with Dr. Vishal Gupta from University of Alabama. And so this one is Leadership Leading from Within. Vishal's lecture would be on lessons from game changers in India. And then we both will come together to talk about how leaders can shape the future, sort of the notion of shaping reality. So I want to highlight something that I saw, and I hope, I'm sure all of you can see my screen, right?
Yeah.
So you should see
absolutely.
Gandhiji's picture on it?
No, so we still don't see this. Just leading from within, I think that's probably, so Naga, is this your slide or?
It is my slide. For some reason, it is paused. So let me see why it is paused.
Maybe you can again reshare.
Yeah. Something happened where when I switched between screens, you know, we always say Indians provide tech support, and here I'm violating my own rule.
You can stop sharing and then share again, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to do. 1 minute.
I think I hope now it will work.
Perfect. So
yes, sir.
I should be able to. Are you able to see it? No.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. We can. Yes, sir.
So you're able to see Gandhiji's screen on it?
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Okay,
yes, sir.
Perfect. So I wanted to start with this because you may have all seen this quote many times in our life. Be the change you wish to see in the world. So since this is 150th year of his birth, and I wanted to keep this in mind, so instead of complaining about where the world is going, we can start affecting change in ourselves. So the entire idea is that leadership is completely ineffective and useless and manipulative until one leads from within. That means it is from the heart and soul can you really influence everybody around you. So unless you know how to respect and influence yourself, you cannot influence anybody else. It is going to be purely a power play and not one based in affection and love and identification. So keep that in mind as we progress. So I started by asking you to fill in very quickly these 5 questions. So let's get this first one out. What do you think?
So Naga, we are seeing the Gandhi's picture.
Yeah.
You're stuck
I would
there
request
again.
all the participants, please mute your microphone. And if you have any question, please write in the chat box.
Priyanka, again, it's a problem
yes,
with me. Can you stop sharing? Pull my privilege out and give it to me back again.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
For some reason, it is stuck between.
Is there a window sharing option available on this where you can only
I'm
share
trying to
the
screen.
window?
Okay.
Yeah, I think now you're the
Might be the
presenter, sir.
easiest
Now,
Okay. I'm just sharing my screen.
Okay.
Yeah.
yes, sir.
Perfect. Let's start with this first question. Anybody? You can unmute your mic. Give a shout out.
Sir, ambulance.
So, what do you think?
I think we heard
So
abundance.
somebody's saying in the chat box that.
So leadership terms to be like an emergency person, and it can like supply a blood supply to an organization. So it can be an ambulance.
So, do you have lots of it, or do you have very few of it?
So very few.
Very few. Should we have lots of it?
So short supply.
Short supply. Should we strive for a leader full place or leader in short supply? Keep that in mind. I asked you a second question. Just check it. Don't respond. I just want to highlight. If you have not completed the workbook, get this done. Again, I wanted to put this thought. We will come to this question a little later. Can we teach leadership? And it's a loaded question, so keep that in mind. And again, I'm structuring my session today based on these 5 questions. So you'll see these questions come back again and again. And at every stage, I'll ask you what you think. So does it have to be one person, or can it be a team or some other group that can provide the same leadership function? And finally, starting with the first question, I want to go back to for some reason, my thing takes off. So I think all of you got the workbook. I hope you had time to complete this particular activity. So let's get this done. So I'm going to switch out for a second. So what I want to do is I want to ask you to respond to the idea of characteristics of an effective leader, right? So you can do 2 things. One, you can send it to me via chat, or you can unmute your mic and shout out what you think is a characteristic or a descriptor of an effective leader that you have known. Right? And I said known doesn't have to be somebody you are friends with, but somebody you've read about, somebody you've seen in action. Come on, somebody help me.
Hello. Sir, can I speak?
Yeah, please.
Yeah, I think the first quality which comes into my mind is courage.
Courage.
So explain that.
Somebody who is courageous. Courage means your ability to respond to a situation fast, without responding fast and calculating the risk immediately, and not thinking about what will happen to the leader. So when a leader takes a decision, he takes a decision in terms of the overall benefit of the people which he's leading, and he's fast in responding, and he's having a calculated. He has a vision of how much risk is involved in doing a particular action. So
Okay,
that is
so
what is courage.
I'm paraphrasing what you said. So responding fast, the ability to act fast, the ability to take personal risks. That means actions that have consequences are negative for you, but it's good for the overall larger group. Did I capture your ideas?
Yes, correct.
Fantastic. Any others?
Yeah,
Naga,
sir,
may I
one of the
request if you
students
could-
responded in the chat box.
Yes, I'm also scanning the chat window. That
Yeah, great.
Naga, if you could actually expand, the visuals. So if you can increase
Yeah.
the font size, or otherwise can expand, that would be easier for us to follow.
I can do that. Does it make sense?
Wonderful, much better.
For
That's
an old guy like me, this actually helps. I'm not complaining.
Sir,
Yeah.
can I add in?
Yeah, please.
So, in my opinion, a leader should be empathetic to the peoples and should be able to communicate the problems or the motto to the peoples.
Okay. Okay. What else?
So two of our
Combination.
students responded in the chat box.
So,
Okay.
shall I also add something, if you
Yes,
allow me to?
please. Yes, always.
So, adding to Akriti and Sir's point, I just wanted to say that a leader should take the responsibility of his subordinates, his people. At the same time, has to have the vision to see beyond obstacles, and should be the first person to handle objections. Like he's the person who can take the responsibility of the pride of every winning situation, but instead he should take the initiative of taking the objections and listening to the objections first. So in my view, I think these were the points that I wanted to add.
So they are able to take into account the objections first. That means they are willing to accept difference of opinion. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, sir. Like they should, a leader, an ideal leader, should not just go with the theories, but should also look into the inputs of his people. Like every person has individual perspectives, and I'm not saying that he should listen to everyone. Like he should rely on everyone for his decision making, but still he should allow his people at least to have the participation in terms
Okay.
of their involvement.
Fantastic. So I combined a chat window suggestion with yours. So both of you were talking about seeking out and accepting subordinates' inputs, right? So I combined those. I hope I've captured it. Other ideas, folks?
Sir, as you said that self-awareness is also important and awareness about what's going on in the environment for becoming a leader.
When I say environmental awareness, I'm talking about what's happening around the world, right? So I'm not talking about environment in the more narrower concept. What else? So there was somebody pointed out ability to see the big picture. What else?
So it's not just the environment that needs our initiative to have the leadership and to do something. There are a lot of factors, and if we can define them particularly, we can see the 17 Sustainable Development Goals. They mention a lot of factors that requires the leadership of youths, especially the youths, not just youth, but especially the youth. because if we can combine our efforts for doing something on those factors, it can help in actually decreasing a lot of factors that bothers almost every individual in the world.
Okay, so I'm going to put SDG focus. Okay, so I see the point you're making, that leaders are also somebody who pays attention to what the world needs, right? So I'm paraphrasing what you said. Anything else, folks? Come on, I'm sure you guys have seen, admired lots of people who you think are great leaders.
So I think resilience can also be a point, because when you are a leader, you face so much different situations, and there are many difficulties that occurs. So it's very important for a leader to be resilient. Otherwise, then you can't sustain or influence your people.
Okay, so resilient. Can you give me an example of resilience?
So, like many of times, if I talk about the leaders who, like someone who's leading a protest or something, if we even talk about independence protest, like that happened, if they would have given up on the situations by the forces that have put on them by Britishers or something, then that wouldn't have been successful. So I think resilience is important. We have to come back after facing difficult situations.
Okay, so I think you're also combining the notion of persistence, that is not giving up. So resilience and persistence are related, but not exactly the same. But I get the point, that you're making a very good point about being very focused on what you have to do and getting up when you fall down, right? So I wanted to capture, I'm sure many of you have more thoughts, right? Keep it coming on the chat window if you are hesitant to talk. But the goal is, together we have to discover what it takes to be an effective leader, right? So there is no secret sauce. We all have to figure out what works for us. And that's where I want you to go, right? So I have nothing super bright to say other than to, I have nothing very bright to say other than to say that we all have to discover what works for us, right? So that's our goal today. So let's get back
Can
to
I add?
Yes, please.
Okay, two more qualities which I think a leader should have is determination and foresight.
So I can see determination. Can you explain foresight?
Foresight is ability to see the future prospects of something, or what will happen in future if I do this today. So,
Okay, so I'm
future
gonna
orientation and calculating something which will happen by the action taken today.
Okay.
In the larger interest of the people.
Okay. So having a clear idea of how your actions will lead to some consequences. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, and more than that, I want to make a point that if I do this today, how the people will be benefited sometime in future, and how the entire society will be benefited.
Okay, so that's a great point. And I think we captured it from a larger goal perspective. I think you are having more a nuanced understanding of what that might mean. And I also like the idea of combining determination with persistence, resilience, and self-awareness. So these are wonderful points. So keep that in mind, because we're going to come back to this issue, right? So let me get back to what I was saying before. Let me ask this question. So this, you can give me a shout out. What do you think?
Sir, a person is born with the leadership, and although there are many skills that a person should require to become a leader, but there are some abilities and qualities which a person is born with to become a leader.
Okay, so can you explain those qualities that sort of are genetically linked?
So some of the genetically acquired qualities could be the power of influencing, the power of delegation, power of influencing, and the interpersonal communication skills could be 2-3 major skills or things that a leader possesses from the time a person is born.
Okay, so that's a very provocative thought. I had not thought of it that way, but you make a point that some of these skills might be something that somebody is born with, right? So, for example, would you say that charisma, or how somebody is very charismatic, is that something they are born with, or can they develop it?
Harsh, can you respond? Harsh?
You were there
Harsh,
for a second.
can you respond? Yeah, I think there is some problem because he's not able to hear our voice. Yeah,
Yeah.
Harsh, can you respond?
He'll come back. That's okay. Anybody else has thoughts? I think that was a great start to this.
Actually, I got
question.
disconnected.
Okay, Harsh.
I feel the same point that yes, the ability or the word you mentioned, charismatic behavior of a leader is born within.
Okay, so keep that in mind, because it puts my entire profession at risk, right?
Yes, sir.
Because I've made my living by claiming that it can be developed. So if people assume that they have to be born with some innate traits, then my job is at risk. Now, I don't mind my job going away, but I want to point that out, that I have a self-interest in somewhat preserving this idea. Right? So keep that in mind. Again, please share your thoughts.
So I would like to add on this.
Right?
I think leadership can be developed. I strongly believe leadership can be developed. You can develop leadership.
Shraddha, I would request you please mute your microphone. Shraddha Chauhan, please mute your microphone.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Please,
go ahead.
please mute your microphone.
I strongly believe that leadership qualities can be developed.
Okay. So hold that up. There's somebody else who offered a very nice point on the chat. They said how a child is brought up by society and parents also reflects the development of leadership. Can somebody sort of elaborate on that idea? So your upbringing.
Saransh, can you please elaborate your point? Maybe he's not listening.
It doesn't have to be Saransh. Anybody else can weigh in, because the point is your upbringing can have an influence on your leadership. Yes, please.
So I definitely agree with Saransh and the person who was talking earlier, that leadership can be developed because there are some traits that are born within leaders, like when they were born, but still there are factors that can help to raise leaders. Spirit, consent to grow constantly. Macro and micro factors are there that can play a huge critical role in raising what shall I say in creating leaders, because whenever we can recall in history in past, there were factors that created situations for leaders to rise for their people and for the situations to solve them. And self-awareness and mentorship also can help. Self-awareness is the factor. Self-awareness is the most vital factor that one can evolve if you want to lead a situation or people. At the same time, mentorship play the most important role, because without proper mentorship, without a person who is there to tell you what is right and what is not, I don't think so a leader can be complete. And yes, education plays as Arash said, how a person is brought up plays a big role in a person's development, personality, or a leader's bringing up. So in terms of this education not in terms of academics, but what we call sanskar in Hindi or in Sanskrit, that plays a very what shall I say, the biggest role in a person's thoughts and mindfulness towards every perspective he has towards the world, towards the people, or even the non-living things.
So, Shashmita, you captured a lot of ideas that are very critical to the argument of developing oneself to be leaders, right? So you started with self-awareness, and you talked about also accumulated wisdom, sanskar, that all your experiences, when you reflect on it, gives you lessons, and the lessons can be codified into sort of wisdom, right? A lot of people don't learn from experiences. And so the notion of education from that, the worldly experiences, is different from education from books. So thanks for differentiating that. Those are very good points. So what we know is that there could be some traits that are genetically linked, but those traits do not always predict your effectiveness, your ability to make changes, your ability to affect change. But a lot of the other characteristics that you guys mentioned in identifying leadership can be developed if one puts the effort and mind towards it. So that is where we are going to go. So we are not dismissing that many of the qualities that we see could be innate, but we are also acknowledging that if one puts their mind to it, they can rise to the occasion. So keep that in mind, right? So I want to ask this question. What do you think?
Sir, again, I want to add one thing.
Bolo.
Sir, leadership is beyond love, because love is like a situation where where a factor of give and take is there. Like, it is there. Even if someone is selfless, somehow the factor comes in between. But when you are a leader, you can't just expect everyone to give back to you. Rather, you should give more to the people without having the expectations of receiving something, because leaders are the people who faces the most criticism. Even after knowing that they are doing good for people, people somehow finds points to criticize them. Even the biggest leaders in the world have faced a lot of issues, a lot of negligence, a lot of criticism for their personal or professional lives. But still, I personally think love is not even a thing to compare with leadership, because it is.
So let me ask a slightly different question. Susmita, good point. So let me rephrase it a little differently. Some of you may have been in love. Some of you probably are in love, and some of you will know love soon. So why does one love somebody else? So why does one love somebody else? And I'm saying love in a more generic form.
So I think for companionship, like we want someone to share us with. I mean, whatever we feel, whatever we think. I think it's about companionship.
Okay, I talk to my dog all the time, right? Would that be like love? Because my dog does a fantastic job of listening to me.
Sir, can I answer this?
Yes, please.
I think when you why love is being mentioned here, because leadership is like love, because when you give love, you get love.
That's deep, man. You got to explain.
So
You got to
probably
explain
like
what you mean by that.
means like it is something like love is more of giving, and definitely even if the people are obstinate, or maybe yeah, they are not accepting you, but then gradually when you keep on giving love, the day will come when they will accept you, and they will
So that's a great point. So I'm going to slightly ask a slightly different question, again related to love. So would you love somebody if they made you feel very bad about yourself?
Yes.
Would you love somebody if they made you feel bad about yourself?
No. If I know that they will do that, then definitely not.
No.
But I don't know what they will do.
So assuming no motivation, all I'm saying is that if they made you feel like you are nobody, would you love them?
No.
So all I'm saying is that noting the differences that you pointed out, that leadership could be beyond love because there is no expectation of a quid pro quo, right? That because I give, I should get back something in return. Leaders don't expect that. That's the claim. We follow somebody willingly. The notion is willingly, only because they make us feel good, special. Right?
Yes.
Leadership is like love only because they make us feel special.
Right.
Anything else is short-lived. Anything else is transactional. Anything else is sort of, I give you this, you give something back in return.
Right.
But unconditional comes only when they make us feel special. So
I'm not saying it is transactional. No, I'm not saying it is
right.
transactional, sir. It is, but once you keep on giving love, a day will come then that you will get back love. It may not come eventually. It will come eventually. Yes.
In love, there is no bookkeeping, right?
No, not at all. I'm not saying you keep record.
So that's all I'm saying. So keep that in mind, that we don't keep count of how many times you have given, so that someday we can say, I've given you 10 times, why haven't you given me once, right?
No.
Leadership is very similar.
Yeah.
So leadership is very similar. When you have that effect on yourself and others, that you make somebody feel special, you make somebody feel capable, you make somebody feel like they matter, they will reciprocate that unconditional love, unconditional trust.
Right.
So I'm using it as a metaphor, right? I'm not saying that the dynamics are the same. All I'm saying is that when you discover true love, you know it because it makes you feel good. It makes you feel special. It makes you feel like you are somebody. And the same argument goes for leadership. You willingly follow somebody because they make you feel special. Good leaders know the importance of developing that unconditional trust. When they do it, when things go bad, they will be there for you. They will not leave you hanging dry. So keep that in mind. We're going to come back to this idea of self-love. So I want to go back to the framework that I had. So what you guys identified, a lot of it was the notion of to be. Right? To be, I have to have the ability to communicate. I have to have these. I have to be insightful. I have to be persistent. I have to be resilient. Those are all qualities, and they don't change very quickly. So these are innate abilities that you bring. and that you can polish, that you can develop, that you can enhance, that you can leverage, right? But those are somewhat stable. But you also identified lots of things that people do. Those are behaviors, right? Ability to influence, ability to delegate, ability to listen, ability to seek. These are all behaviors. They can be learned, they can be developed, they can be polished. And in combination with those traits, they can become very powerful. And finally, consequences. What do they get? If all they expect is that I give you a carrot because you do what I'm asking you to do, then that consequence will not have meaningful effect in the long term. So when you discover effective leaders, you find commonalities across those patterns of qualities, action, and what they are looking for in terms of consequences. Those patterns reveal effectiveness or ineffectiveness. And we'll come back to this idea. So think of it as be, do, get. Right? So what are you? What are you do? And what are those goals for which you are directing your action? And when you master those, you begin to get a very, very good idea, right? So what I want to do is get your definition. So we have been talking about this. We have talked about leadership as love. You identified effective as the ineffective. So I want you to think about the definition. So Sushmita, great point. Thanks for sharing that. If you guys are not watching chat, occasionally open because there are some excellent comments that some of you have shared on the chat window. So I asked you to define leaders and leadership for yourself. So that becomes your guiding light, the way you think about it, right? So would anybody be willing to share your definition of leader? Simplest definition, doesn't have to be long.
Leadership, hello?
Yeah, you're on.
Leadership is the ability to influence others to do what you want them to do.
Okay, ability to influence others to get what you want get done. Great idea, good. What else? That's a very good starting definition. Any other definitions you have? Others?
So leadership is a ability to get our work done in the way we want by influencing others.
Okay, so again, you identified those two characteristics, influencing and ability to get what you want get done. Karan pointed out leadership shouldn't be about ego gratification. It shouldn't be about validation and status seeking. So then what should leaders be about? So you clearly identified what it should not be about. So what should it be about? Karan?
Karan?
Hello, am I audible?
Yeah, yes, sir.
Yes.
It should emerge from wanting to get something done that you believe in. It shouldn't be about status seeking, because for a lot of people it is about that. They want to be the CEO because it's the status. If you believe in something, if something is meaningful to you, that should be the foundation of leadership. That belief in the value, making it, wanting to make an impact.
Absolutely. So what you're talking about is people love the position power and they have no desire to get referent power. The idea is that people do things because they like you, genuinely like you, genuinely identified with the direction you're seeking. That is very different from saying, I am the boss, so you have to do what I want you to do. That is not influence, that is an exercise in power, right? So great points, great points. So I knew that you guys are smart, so I sort of captured it. Right. So I'm using push within quotes to indicate that this push is subtle rather than very overt. Right. So people often know where they have to go, but they need a gentle push. This is not kicking the ass motivation theory. This is about getting them to see what they're capable of. That is the role of a leader, is to provide that force to help followers overcome the behavioral inertia, right? That leadership, behavioral inertia could come out of lack of self-confidence, could come out of lack of trust in one's own abilities, could come out of lack of efficacy beliefs. That means that if I put in X amount of effort, I don't think I'll get the Y amount of output, right? The leader's job is to provide that force. The force could be in multiple ways, but that's a challenge, right? So keep that in mind. And I think the two other comments that came are fantastic comments, right? Is making people believe in the goal. So that's behavioral inertia. That is, they believe that it is possible, then they'll be forced to act. If they don't believe it's possible, then they are not likely to do it, right? That's the entire idea of the motivation theory. Then we have the agent. The leader is simply somebody who does it. Leadership is simply the process by which this particular force is exerted. Right? So we also always have to understand the difference between the two. One is agent, and the other is agency. One is somebody who does it, the other is simply the process. So understanding the process helps one become a little better at becoming the agent of that process. So keep that in mind, because that answers the last question. Leader, can it be a team or an individual? It can be both. Many of you have been working in teams for your class projects, will work in teams when you join organizations, may have worked in teams when you did your internship in summer, right? Sometimes the team identification, the fact that this team is so tight, or people seem to be excited to be part of the team, that alone can act like a leader. That there's no need to single out one individual. The fact that I belong to this team itself makes me motivated, makes me charged, makes me willing to stretch out to the goals. So keep that in mind. My research has been on team leadership. How can teams as a collective entity play leadership roles? And we know it can be done. And we know it has been done. It's not easy. If it is easy, everybody will do it, right? So we know what a leader does. We know how the understanding of how that gets done, that's the leadership. And we know that it can be at multiple levels, that it can be at a one-on-one, that a boss commanding a leader, subordinate, or it can be as a team, that I belong to this team, and just that identification makes me feel very, very good about being who I am. That's a key. So I want to move to a slightly different experience, right? So I asked this question, can everybody be a leader? So now that you know your own definitions of leadership, you know your own sort of descriptions of a leader, we know that leadership could be like love. Can we answer this question? Does everybody have the ability to be a leader?
No, sir, I don't think
Yes.
that everyone can become a leader, because if everyone becomes a leader, then who will be the follower? So it's a general truth, sir.
Okay, so leader has to have a follower. Okay. What else?
Yes, sir. So
So,
I believe the same.
sir, everyone can have leadership abilities, but not everyone can be a leader, according to me.
So when you say a leader, are you thinking immediately of a position?
So I'm talking about in person, like you can have the abilities, but then not everyone can, polish their abilities in such a way then they can lead the people or can give a push that you were talking about.
So Akriti, I understand. What I'm saying is, I'm only talking about potential, right? We know that a lot of people never realize the potential. So in general, does everybody have the ability to be a leader? And I'm asking you also to be very careful about whether you are making an assumption that a leader has to have a position. That means they have to be supervisors, managers, or vice presidents.
So I just got a thought while you were saying things. So in my view, everyone has the ability to be a leader. If we can see their perspective and can give them the direction where they are good. Like a person can be good in leading political factors. A person can be a political leader. But if I ask him to lead a sports team, he might not be able to do that. If we can see in terms of academics and in our college, there are people who are not that excellent in terms of their studies. But if I can ask that person to lead me for a cricket team, he can be better than most of us. So it depends upon the direction and the mentorship. If a person is heading the way he's good at and he has that interest, he has the vision in that context, he can be a leader. All we want to do is to...
Sushmita, great thought. So what you're talking about is the abilities or skills fit. That if you bring a certain degree of skills or abilities to an occupation, then you have a greater probability of being a leader, right? So you said somebody who is good in politics is likely to be a good political leader, but maybe lousy as a cricket team captain, right? Did I capture your thoughts?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so
just one thing I missed, that the person who is wanting to lead has to have that self-awareness. Like if everyone has that potential, but they have to gain that self-awareness, that state of self-awareness, then only they can be the person who knows that yes, I can lead. If they're not aware, they can't lead.
That's an excellent point. What you said is, if certain preconditions are met, then everybody has the ability to be a wonderful leader or a good, capable leader. I'm asking you to go back to the definition. Right? If leadership is about providing that push to overcome behavioral inertia, can your classmate in a situation play that role of influence? Can a subordinate influence a supervisor? And if they do influence a supervisor to do something better, have they played a leadership role? So I'm asking you to think about leader separated from the idea of a position. I'm asking you to think of a leader as somebody who influences people to achieve things that they didn't dream of or they thought they were not capable of. And one doesn't have to be playing this role all the time. Right? So think of your own friendship circle.
Give it a deep thought. I think leadership is apart from a leader. Like they are correlated. Don't take me otherwise. But leadership is just the media a person is engaging people. His power to influence people. Leadership cannot be bad or good. It's just the thing that influences people. Hitler was also a leader, and we consider Nelson Mandela also as a leader. They both were leaders, and they both were playing the roles of they both were playing the role of leadership. But the difference is in their thoughts. And as you said that if a person is always playing as a leader, yes, they are. They all we have to do is just give give it a view. Like there are situations where we just neglect things, but there can be situations. Even the smallest acts can be considered leadership if they are done with a view, a vision, and a goal.
Right. Absolutely. Great point. So the point I wanted to make is that can everyone be a leader? And suggest yes. Should everybody be a leader? That depends. Does everybody try to be a leader? Sometimes. But are they all equally effective? No. And the root cause of that might be exactly what Sushmita pointed out, that they are at different stages of self-development. They are different stages of self-awareness, and they may have entirely different motivations. As Harsh or somebody else pointed out, that the goal they are seeking should not be to glorify themselves, but to help develop others, right? So keep those thoughts in mind, because I wanted to ask you a slightly different question. Oops, my bad. So I use the word leaders as always separated from a distinct followers. If you are able to influence yourself, then you have led yourself. And sometimes to be a wonderful leader of others, you have to learn to lead yourself first, right? So the idea always starts at home. So you all can be leaders all the time. Right? You all can be leaders all the time. And you can lead yourself or you can be leading others. A college is a perfect place where everybody can be leaders because you have so many opportunities to bring about meaningful change, whether it is student clubs, student organizations, the ability to bring about some meaningful change, the ability to play a role in the community, doing some kind of a learning project. All of those are opportunities for you to do something that brings a greater self-awareness, right? You begin to learn more about yourself. And I'll come to that point in a second. But I also know that when you take responsibility to lead, not just yourself, but also every time you get an opportunity to influence somebody else, then that improves you, your life, your job, your world. We miss the opportunity. We wait for somebody else to tell us what to do. We want to put the blame on others for where we are, but those are not good leadership qualities. You yourself identified right in the beginning that people are willing to take personal risks for the improvement of others. Before we go to others, are you willing to take personal risks for the improvement of yourself? If you're willing to take those risks to improve yourself, then you'll willingly take the risks to improve others. The love of others does not happen until you learn to love yourself. I'm not talking of narcissistic affection. I'm talking of deep respect for your own capabilities, a deep awareness of who you are. When you begin to develop those, then when you love others, that comes naturally as an extension of love for yourself. Right? You cannot be in a productive relationship with your current love, future love, husband, wife, whoever it is. You cannot be in that relationship if you hate yourself. It's the same thing in the workplace. If you don't like yourself, you cannot be an effective leader. You're simply a drama actor. You're playing a role for 8 hours, going home completely sick and drained of who you are. And so commit yourself today that you can be an effective leader, right? So I want to move because it's not easy. We talked about this. This is not easy. If it was easy, everybody will do it, right? So ideal world, we will have leaderful planet. That means every individual born on this planet will have the ability to play a meaningful leadership role. We know that that is the ideal state, but we are never going to get there because this is not easy. So if you want to learn this craft, you got to start with what Sushmita has been saying. You got to start with increased self-awareness. You got to question yourself every day, not from a guilt, not from, oh, I'm not confident, but you got to ask yourself, why did I do what I did? Why did I think what I thought? Unless you ask yourself these questions, you do not know exactly what motivated you to think those thoughts or do those things. That is self-awareness. Learning to appreciate who you are, and then figuring out how to lead from your best self. Leadership is not something you learn to ride once and then it'll stay with you. This is a hard work. You got to do every day, every minute. And the higher you go, the more magnified your behaviors become. Everybody watches every step of your actions. So you can't fake your way. Right? You cannot fake your way. So the only way we can do it is that we have to love what we do and we have to commit to lifetime dedication. This is not easy, right? If it was easy, everybody will do it. But more important, and I think somebody else pointed out, getting environmental, knowing what is happening around the world, knowing the causal mechanism. Somebody pointed out that you have to know the foresight, the ability to predict what might come next. That comes only when you develop a nuanced worldview. Figuring out our role in the entire planet, how things work. Your education is an opportunity for you to begin to appreciate the complexity of the social systems that we created, right? So it's not natural evolution. We created every system around us, whether it is a university setting or your kindergarten to 12th grade or the workplace. Every system that we work in, live in, and are affected are all human-made. That means they are full of flaws. They reflect thinking at a particular point in time. Our job is to question. Our job is to appreciate what can be done in that particular context. Right? And finally, somebody pointed out right in the beginning, this is not about status seeking. This is not about personal glorification. Right? The only thing that will stay with you the entire life is your integrity. The only thing. It's the only thing that you will die with. Right? Nothing else. And so the only thing you can do is to never compromise on the integrity. Not one time, just this one time. It's not a good excuse. That's a slippery slope. Just this one time. That's how good people go bad. They say, oh, I'll just make this excuse this one time. And that one time never becomes one time. The only way we can be who we want to be is to recognize that the only thing we take to our grave is integrity. What people talk about us after we die. Nobody remembers how much money we made. We can put our names on the things, but people remember for how we lived our life. That's the only thing that matters. So I'm lucky that I'm doing what I really want to do, right? So I can say these things. But hey, I'm 59. I've taken my bumps on the road. I'm asking you, if you want to do this, to commit to something that you love to do, right? And live the life from that particular center. So I've been designing management programs. So I got to give a shout out to Sushmita again, because she made my life simpler. Your entire life is going to revolve around these 5 things. When you work in an organization, when you start your own business, do anything, it's going to revolve around these 5 things. You have to learn to reflect, something that most managers don't do. But managers understand how to design organizations. They understand the context a little bit, and they know how to build a team, right? And then they act. If you want to be an effective leader, you got to put these 5 things in context. That means I got to know that every action has to have a reflection component. I got to know that only when I know myself can I really build a great team, that I can build an organization that reflects me, that the context becomes something that I can leverage. And then when I act to lead change, people willingly follow my lead because they know where I'm coming from. So your entire business education is built around helping you build teams, your organizational behavior class, leadership classes, designing organizations, all your functional classes that you've taken, understanding the context, all the other core courses that you took, they all build these core skills. These are very important, but they come to life only when you leverage the 2 parts. That is action complemented by reflection. That you know yourself deeply, that you can leverage your knowledge to bring about meaningful change. So keep that in mind as we progress. So I started by saying leading from within. I got to end it with leading self. So how do you lead yourself? So I'm highlighting a few strategies. There are many other strategies, but I want to talk about the first one. If you have the habit of keeping notes, if you have a diary, always make a habit of writing an after action review. That means after a team project is done, write for yourself what went right, what went wrong. Why did you behave what you did? When you're in a team meeting, does somebody make you feel very upset or angry? Why do you interrupt? Right? Observe yourself doing those things. Right? Not just doing the wrong things, but also doing the right things. When do you come in to congratulate somebody? When do you say, hey, great job, man? Right? Observe yourself, keep notes, then you'll begin to get a better sense of how you act. When you do that, then we can do 2 things. Mindsets are extremely important to navigate this complex piece of planet. I came to the US in '89. This was the year when San Francisco had an earthquake. And I still remember the video from long time news. So in a street, all the houses are damaged, right? So people are crying, people are upset because their entire livelihood, lifetime possession all gone. So one guy is crying saying, I've lost everything. My house is all ruined. How do I build myself back up? And down the street, another guy says, I always wanted a swimming pool. So same earthquake, same street, one person looks at it as a loss, the other person looks at it as a gain. That's about changing attitudes and mindset. You got to figure out things that you have no control over. You got to fret about it, you can't worry about it. You learn to appreciate what you cannot influence. And you learn to influence what you cannot control. That's all you can do. Right? You can control your own behaviors. You cannot control somebody else's behaviors, but you can influence. And you can definitely not change the world around you. Appreciate it. And if you develop the right mindset, it makes it so much easier to figure out how to deal with things. I sent you the last activity, which is to commit to a course of action, goal setting. Goal setting is important. If you're seeking a job, you got to set goals. How many applications am I going to complete? How many interviews do I want to get? What is the deadline by which I should have a job offer in hand? Those are goal setting, right? Those are easy goals that you can set for yourself, that you can measure and track. Goal setting is very, very important. And accompanying goal setting is rewarding self. When you do something good, give yourself a reward. Buy a pizza for yourself or go watch a favorite Netflix show, right? Don't do it until then. The thing is, we got to develop a mindset that I am in it for myself, like since I want to improve myself. So I want to set clear goals that help me progress. And when I get those milestones, I'm going to give myself a reward. I want to feel good about myself. Make it a habit. I'm not saying you should go shopping, get yourself expensive gifts. Do small things. When you have deprived yourself of a TV show because you have an assignment to complete, get that assignment done, reward yourself. Simple things change the way we live everyday life. And I want to point out, just because you have feathers doesn't mean you can fly. We always look for easy answers because it makes our life so much simpler if we can find easy answers. Somebody to blame, somebody to give credit, right? You cannot live on. More importantly, your business school is about not what to think, but how to think. All the theories you learned teaches you how to think, how to process the information you're collecting so you can organize it and make sense. The business school education is not about teaching you what to think. What to think is what we teach our Excel template, macros. How to think is what we are now teaching artificial intelligence. Right? If we don't want AI to replace us, then we have to be better than who we are when it comes to how to think. And then, as correctly pointed out by somebody right in the beginning, we got to learn to understand the fundamental causal mechanisms. Remember the basic rule: cause and effect are always separated in time and space. What we do today may have an effect that will show up 3 days from today, or 3 months from today, or 3 years from today, and in a completely different place than where we started. That's the reality of a complex system. When you can appreciate those and when you can understand how they happen, you're going to be one step ahead of anybody else. Right? You're one step ahead of everybody else. So whenever you encounter something, always understand how that came to be. And when you understand those fundamental causal mechanisms in social systems, you learn to appreciate why things happen the way they happen. You may not be right all the time, but that's okay. But you're going to be one step ahead of everybody else. So I wanted to conclude with a couple of thoughts. I want to go back to the goals that you set for yourself. You don't have to share the goals, but tell me what was the biggest difficulty you had when you tried to complete that particular process.
So according to
Go ahead, Soumya.
So according to me, in order to achieve my daily goals, the biggest problem I ever face is self-discipline. In order to maintain that self-discipline every single day is a tough task.
So how do you think you can deal with it?
I think I continuously need a motivation, sort of motivating videos or something that reminds me why I started this particular thing. So I continuously need a push.
So do you have a helper? Do you have somebody who can be that push?
I think I lead my life myself. I am the leader of myself. Like I do mistakes, then I learn from them. So it's like I am the one who leads my life.
Right. Oh, you remember somebody pointed out mentors and helpers, right?
Yeah, of course I have mentors. I have my faculties in the college. I can share anything with them. But then end of the day, it's me who is left with myself. So I have to deal with me. So I think
actually, Soumya, that's a fantastic attitude. That means you take ownership of your own life,
yes.
Right? You understand the difference between living somebody else's life versus living one's own life. That's a great start. That's a great start. I am a classic procrastinator. I'm like 59 years old. I've never lost the ability to delay what can be done today. My wife is my helper. She's the one who reminds me that I have deadlines to meet every day. She kicks me out of the TV room if I haven't finished grading. Right? I'm 59. I still need that help. There's no shame, right? You have to find somebody who has your best interests always at heart. And you got to trust that they will be there to irritate the heck out of you to get the job done, right? So when my wife says, Naga, you haven't finished the job, I know it irritates me at that moment. Right? Because all I want to do is watch my favorite show or watch a NBA game. But she kicks me down saying, no, go finish your grading and then you may watch a few hours. So you got to find somebody you trust who becomes that mechanism for you to remind you to stay in line, right? There's no shame. We all need help at every stage in our life. I'm sure Gandhi needed help. I have no idea who his helper was, but I'm sure he needed help. Everybody needs help. We are human.
Kasturba Gandhi.
See? There was always somebody stronger than us to keep us in line, who think of our welfare first, right? So we all need that. So find somebody. So that's a great point, Samya. That's a great point, that self-discipline is sometimes the biggest hurdle. Anybody else who had difficulty?
So may I add?
Sure.
So I have a goal that I know I would be able to achieve within 5 to 7 years, and I have been working on it. But as you say, there was one important element that I had to start, but I was procrastinating this. But I don't know, today after your session, I think my helper is today I think my helper is you, because whatever I just learned and heard, now I am very confident that I will start doing that thing today itself. So I think thank you to you that you emerged today as a helper.
Thanks, Sakriti. So remember, for me, these are my validation mechanisms, right? We all live for these validations. When people say we have done a good job, just as you did to me, it makes me feel very special, right? And in that respect, you have influenced me to reach even harder things. So we all can influence each other to do the best things we can, right? So I'm glad. Anybody else who had difficulty setting goals? Go ahead.
So Soumya said a few things. I faced too, but I started feeling a change in myself before some time, a month or 2 months ago, when I realized that I have to be the person who intends to change myself. I heard about a story of Ramanujan. Jaggi Sadhguru was storytelling about him, and he mentioned there that when people asked Ramanujan at his deathbed, like, what was the reason? From where did you got all these mathematical equations when you don't, when the world don't even know about the facts that they actually exist? He told at his deathbed, like, Ma Saraswati told me these in my dreams, and no one agreed to that fact. But while explaining the fact, Jaggi Sadhguru said that it's not about a person or a spiritual factor that can motivate us. It's about our energy. Where we invest it. If we feel like we all believe in God, almost all of us believe in God. But there are certain situations when we feel like God is listening to us and He's doing things for us. The same happens with people. When we ask our mother to do something, most of the time mother can deny something, father can deny something, mother can deny something. But when they agrees to our thoughts, it feels there is a sense of happiness, and it motivates us to do something, that I might have done something, that she agreed to my thought, that she agreed to the thing I asked for. The same happens with God. The same happens with ourselves also. If we invest our energy, if we invest our good thoughts, good or bad thoughts, in anything, it starts giving us back. I'm not criticizing Soumya or anyone. Please don't take me otherwise, Soumya. I felt that myself, and when I started doing the tiniest thing, I saw a video 2 to 3 years back, not the video, just the thumbnail, where it was written that if you want to change your life, start with the littlest thing. It was mentioned, start changing your bedsheet as you wake up. No, start making your bed as you wake up. Then it created a curiosity in my mind, and I just saw the video. It was from an American veteran who might be a leader. I don't remember his name. He mentioned that it's not about the big things. It's about the small things that we start with. You can there are things that we do, like when we eat something, we just put our vessels there. When we put our glass there. When we are reading, we just put our books anywhere, and then we find them when we need them. There are situations we create ourselves, critical situations we create for ourselves. So if we can start correcting from there, it will motivate us to do big things. I think that could be a factor for everyone.
So Sushmita, you've been one step ahead of me throughout this presentation. So you anticipated what I'm going to say in the next one, right? So I'm going to come to that point because you made the idea of small goals, right? Start somewhere so that builds a virtuous cycle, that builds small successes lead to large successes. So I want to start with this thought. What you love to do may not be what you're really good at. Right? When you do what you really love to do, time should come to a standstill. Psychologists call this the idea of flow. Right? You are most creative when you are in that flow-like state. So when you're reading a favorite book, or when you're doing a modeling that you really love to do, I love running Excel models. Right? Sometimes time comes to a standstill. You didn't realize that you had been working for 3 hours. You didn't notice that your leg has gone to sleep or your back is stiffened up because you're so committed to doing what you did. Right? That is what we should be striving for. That is what I had in the very first of the ABC list. Things that make you alive. These are the things that you find effortless. When I say effortless, doesn't mean you didn't put time or real effort, but it feels like easy. And it makes you feel alive and enjoyable. Right? In contrast, I'm sure all of you have done things that gave you a difficult time, that was distressing, that was depressing. The more you engaged in the task, it left you more frustrated. What I want you to think about is to see and separate life into those triple E tasks, things that are easy, effortless, and enjoyable, versus tasks that are difficult, distasteful, and depressing. And change your attitudes about those DDD tasks. We lived in Lajpat Nagar in New Delhi a long time ago. My brother never wanted the water to warm up. So he would go on a cold morning in December, have a shower in absolute bonkers cold water. Right? We all would scream at him, "Why do you do that?" He said, "I don't want to wait for you guys to heat up the water in a bucket. So I just make a game of it. Every day I tell myself, how long can I stay under this cold water?" Right? So you can always change your attitudes about difficult things. Make it fun. Make it something that you have to do so that the effortless work becomes your treat. I know a lot of people who hate what they do at work. Right? They do that because they want to make money. And then they develop elaborate hobbies. The hobbies are the ones that they really love to do. And the work is simply a means to engage in a hobby. Some people are very good at living these dual lives. I am not very good at it. So I figured out that I have to move into an occupation where I love every day what I do. And so I don't have to worry about things that I have to do on the side to keep myself sort of sane. Are there things that I don't like about my job? Yeah, I don't like grading. I absolutely don't like grading. I've never met a faculty member who said he loves grading. I bet that Nilesh or Priyanka or Vishal or Alka I hate grading. We hate to judge somebody else.
Yes.
But hey, that's part of who we are, right? So I have one work that I find difficult, but I have 15 other things that I find loving. I'm not very good at many of those things, right? I'm not very good at lecturing 150 students. So I'm very pleased that there only 25 showed up today. I'm like super thrilled because I'm not very good at it. I'm not an entertainer in a real sense. I know my colleagues do fantastic job in a 200 student auditorium. I cannot function, right? So I know that you all have to make those choices. But if you figure out something that you love to do and you can find that in the workplace, then you are in a perfect flow-like condition. You're going to be enjoying every day because you can be the most creative, right? And so if you want to live your life at your best self, that means you live every moment as if it's your last moment. You live every moment never regretting anything you have done. That's living life at your best self. If you want to live that, what are you willing to commit today? Right? What are you willing to act on today? Because if you can find yourself living at your best self every day, then you won't have to struggle to wake up in the morning, right? And you won't have to struggle going to sleep because you know the next morning is going to be exciting because you want to get up every day looking forward to the day. That is the beauty of living your life at your best self. Don't wait. Start today. Make a commitment. That goes with the thing. Set small goals. Sushmita's goal, make your bed or rearrange your books after you're finished or switch off your TV or do your dishes before you leave the kitchen. Set small goals and let those small goals build up to the larger goals. Nature doesn't care how smart you are, right? So if you want to succeed, you got to work for it. Unless you got lucky that your parents left you billions of dollars or you married rich. I didn't do both. So all I'm asking is you got to know what success is and you got to do what you think is the right thing. So before I conclude, I asked a question about indicators of success. Does anybody want to share how you'll measure your life, say 10 years out? Like in business, we measure metrics, right? So what will be the metrics of success for your own life 10 years out? Come on, folks, you guys can give me lots of answers. You all. Give me some things that you can measure your success. How will you measure your life? Go ahead.
Yes, Karan.
So I have an idea of like Karan Gupta 10 years from now. Yeah. What I want is when I get to that Karan Gupta, I want to have another like a further Karan Gupta 10 years from now idea. So I want to keep chasing and keep growing and developing.
That's beautiful. That's
as
beautiful.
Opposed to
is that
getting to a specific destination.
Do you know when you would have arrived at the Karan Gupta 10 years from today? Like 2030 version of Karan Gupta. Do you know how it will look like?
No, I want that to change every day. So if I develop a new skill that I wanted to develop, set new targets. So it's more like an abstract thing, Karan Gupta plus 10 years.
So let's make it abstract. So give me in the most abstract version of 2030 Karan Gupta.
So I'm telling you, it doesn't exist. It's more like plus 10. It's x plus 10. So it's a variable x plus 10.
So you will live for the moment without thinking about the future.
No. Okay,
no,
I'm not able to
asking.
fully articulate what I meant.
No, Karan. It is not a bad idea to say, I'm not asking you to say what your vision is 10 years out, right? because your point is that I wanna make that evolve every day depending upon what skills are acquired or what new interests I'm pursuing. Absolutely, that's not a problem. So that's the point I made. I said it's never a bad idea to say I am going to live life at this moment without thinking about tomorrow, without worrying about the past. Right?
I wouldn't entirely agree with the living in the moment part, because it often implies that you're just enjoying yourselves and you're not delaying gratification, you're not thinking seriously about goals that require a time commitment. So that's why I didn't use that.
Karan, you throw in another term called delaying gratification. Do you want to delay gratification?
Well,
and if so, what is that gratification?
Well,
no, it's a great point.
One goal I have. Hello. Yeah. One goal I have is to lose weight, and for that, I have to exercise a lot more and eat a lot less. So there is discomfort in that. It's not a very nice feeling to be, to not be able to eat chocolates and all of that. So that's delaying gratification.
No, I'm reached a point where every pound I eat ends up somewhere in my body. Right? I'm not 28 years old where I can eat like 4 chickens and nothing happened to me. Right? So I know the challenge. That's not a bad goal to have. That's one aspect. I've known students who tell me they want to own a Mercedes, right? They want to be in a fancy beach house 4 years, 10 years from today. So my question is, what would that bring you? What would that bring you?
I mean, I don't have any such goals about owning Mercedes, although it's a nice car and I'd like to have it.
Absolutely. I'm not saying you have. What I'm saying is that when you set goals, always ask yourself this question. If I get those goals, what would that bring me? If all it does is bring me status, then maybe there are other ways to get to the same point. But if it makes me feel much better about myself to pursue the next 10 years of my life, then yeah, I want to get there. So if your point is, I want to get healthy, right? Forget losing weight. I want to get healthy, then that's not a bad goal, because 10 years from today, you will be healthy so that you can pursue the next 10 years, maybe climb K2, right?
Yeah.
So it is not a bad idea to have abstract concepts, but try to put some concreteness into that abstractedness and then say, if I get there, what will it bring me? If the answer is it'll bring me things that enables me to do more, then it's a good thing to do. Right? Don't dismiss your goals. These are fantastic. These are great starts. What I'm saying is that the last thing you should let yourself be subject to is your own voice of judgment. Our biggest enemy is not somebody outside us, is us. Because we have an idea that looks very creative, and the first thought that pops into my head is, what will others think? Right? That's my own voice of judgment. That's absolutely my own voice of judgment. I have no idea how others will think. Why am I presupposing that they will judge me when they have not had an opportunity to judge me? So whenever you are toying with these, always ask yourself, is it simply my own voice of judgment that is telling me that I might be onto the wrong path, or that is allowing me not to be my creative self? And you might discover that your biggest enemy is yourself. Our biggest enemy is always ourselves, right? So all I'm asking you guys is that you have committed to coming to JLU Business School. So you already done the first step. Now commit yourself to doing the best you can be for the next how many ever years. Current target 10 years, revise the goal every 10 years. Right? So I'm pleased that I was able to play a very small part in influencing your future choices. And I'm delighted and thankful that you all stuck around for the 1.5 hour session. We are past the time by 2 minutes, but I'll be staying around till Priyanka or Nilesh kick me out. Thanks a lot, folks. Priyanka, Nilesh, back to you. Did I lose them?
No, sir, you are audible.
No. Did I lose Dr. Nima?
Okay, no, I think so. Okay, so I think we may have lost Priyanka here because of, Naga, I'm sorry, but sometimes power connections and so that can disrupt the people. So let me take this opportunity to thank you, Naga. And if you allow me, I just want to share with everybody a secret. So guys, sometimes several people see me here do things, but there are people behind me who actually help and encourage me, become my bouncing boards. Naga has been very generous with his times over last 3 years. Several times we spent hours together, me telling him what's going on, what I see, where we would want to take business school, and he giving me his feedback in terms of what am I thinking, what I need to think about, what the challenges could be, and some homework for me to do. So Naga, it has been always a pleasure to hear you. I am amazed at the way you engage everybody and encourage them to think for themselves. I wish I had patience like you. Something that I need to learn is just amazing. I know Vishal and Alka are also here. Vishal, thank you so much. I wish everybody else who had an opportunity today to be like you. So the people who don't know, Dr. Vishal Gupta is also there with us today. He just wanted to come, and his sister, who is in Delhi, but also did her PhD from the US, and taught in the US, is also here. Alka, thank you so much for being a part. Both of them said that they would want to be here because they don't want to miss out learning from Naga.
No. Don't say that. Don't put pressure on me, man.
Naga, but that's true. I think Vishal would agree with me that this has been our opportunity to learn from you. So thank you so much for taking time out, for agreeing to be with us, for teaching us how to teach, teaching us how to share, teaching us how to co-learn. Everybody here who has stuck around, I know that you got your reward in terms of the question that you need to think through for yourself that will change your life. The idea of leadership, and can you play a part of the team that would lead? Amazing ideas. Thank you so much for taking time out, being here, learning together. Thank you so much, and I wish everybody well.
Thank you, folks. Thanks for sticking around, and thanks for inspiring me to be better. Like I said, I love every minute of what I do. So this is a validation. This is my treat. So thank you so much, and thanks, Akriti, for that shout out that you gave me.
Sir, if I can speak, if you have 2 minutes.
Sure. Please go ahead.
Sir, on the behalf of entire JLU students, I would really like to thank you. This was a very enlightening session, and we really thoroughly enjoyed it. And also, I think, I don't know about others, but you have created a path, I think, where we have to go, and thank you so much. I think I can't thank you enough in words for today's session. Thank you, Nilesh sir, for inviting Naga sir.
Thank you so much. It was a pleasure listening to you.
Yeah, even I would like to, add on. I'm Dr. Archana. So actually, apart from the leadership, I was also learning the, teaching style. A wonderful teaching style, I must say. Very patiently you were listening to the student, how you were responding to the queries. I mean, that is actually, that's really, I learned a lot of things from here. Thank you very much, Professor.
Thanks a lot, folks. I do this only because every time I do it, I learn something new. So as I told Priyanka and Nilesh, I have never facilitated a class size 170. Like I said, I also got lucky that a few of them showed up. But for me, this is an opportunity to share what I love. And every time you give me an opportunity to share what I love, what more can I ask for? Right?
It's a complex topic, and you explain that, the topic so smoothly. I mean, in very simple words. That's, because I teach OB, so I know it's, kind of a complex topic. It's not that easy to make people understand, but it was very flawless, and I can say in very simple words, you explained the things. Even so many things you added, things which I learned. So it was really good experience for me.
I'm still a Desi at heart, so I know that Indians believe in the Occam's razor. We look for the simplest explanation, but no simpler. You don't have to make it any more complex than we need to. Right? So we didn't invent the term Occam's razor, but Indians live by that idea. Right? That we look for the simplest explanation, but no simpler. So my goal in life is to simplify things for myself. If I can simplify things for myself, then I can explain it to others in the same way. If I don't understand it simply, then I cannot explain it to somebody else in the same way, right? So I hope I was able to get you started on the journey, because Vishal's next presentation is going to give you a very different look at how people have done it in India. And I'm giving you a preview of what Vishal is going to say. But that's going to be a fantastic build on what we did today.
We are excited for that, sir.
Vishal, you want to make a comment in terms of the next session or today's session? Any comment? Then we can't let you go without making a comment.
Yes.
Well, thanks, Nilesh, for the opportunity. I had my diary open and I was taking notes as Naga was speaking, and I hope that's what the students did too. They took good notes because that's what we as professors want, right? Students, thinking about things we are speaking, not just hearing them, but actually taking notes and thinking about how they can use these things in their life. As Naga said, hopefully next week when I talk about like how leaders lead in India, I will be building on some of the things that Naga said. Especially anybody can be a leader. Doesn't mean everybody will be a leader, but anybody can be a leader. And that leadership, nobody is born a leader. Even when we think that they are born a leader, people learn how to be good leaders. So yeah, those are the things I'll be building on too. And that's what my notes say about, takeaways from Naga's lecture also.
Thanks a lot, folks. Thank you,
guys.
Thank
you so much, Vishal. For everyone, Dr. Vishal Gupta would be talking about the game changers in India, the people who have actually made substantial difference in their area of influence or leadership. Alka, would you want to make a comment? Dr. Alka Gupta? Yeah, Priyanka is back. Priyanka, so...
Yes, sir, I'm so sorry. Actually, something happened to me.
That's all right, Priyanka. So we had few people make comments. I think everybody loved the session. We did tell about what Vishal is going to do. Vishal made a comment. Over to you, Priyanka.
So thank you, sir. Thank you so much, because it was really a great experience for, I think, for all of us to listen to you. It has put a completely new and I think, yes, a different perspective about the leadership now. And I really would like to thank to all my students, and I hope you enjoyed this amazing interactive session by Sir. And so I just want to add one thing. What personally I feel about leadership is, and what I've experienced in my life, that to a certain extent, that if you have someone, some mentor who can guide you, I think things will become very easy. And you because right mentorship and coaching help you out, basically help you in figuring it out, that what you want to become. Sometimes you know that this is these are your dreams, but if you don't have a proper and good guidance, good mentorship and coaching, or maybe a good leader, so you don't know how to reach there. So because this is what I have experienced in my life. Luckily, my leader, he exactly know how to lead and how to motivate their team members. So this is the most important thing in life, good leadership.
I agree with you.
So thank
I've
you
been
so
lucky.
much for this amazing session.
Thanks a lot, folks. I'll see you next week during Vishal's session. I'll be the silent occupant.
Naga, Vishal, have a wonderful day. Everybody, have a good rest of the evening. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for joining in today.
Thanks a lot, folks.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you everyone for joining.